When you look at your health, are you building a palace or are you building a prison? Thing that nobody tells you on this, they're both built the same way. I'm Dr. Jeff Cumro, and over the past 15 years, I've been blessed to work with over 5,000 patients. And through that time, I see too many people that are stacking the wrong bricks. They're not seeing the big end goal. And I don't know, there's different books that talk about this. You know, having the ladder against the wrong wall. You're climbing the wrong wall, and once you get to the top, you realize that you're at the wrong place, right? Same thing happens in our health, because as we build, it goes very, very slowly. We're placing one brick at a time, and it builds slowly, right? So we can have that inflammatory diet. We can go without sleep for a while. We can go with too much stress. We can push through it. We can live without exercise, right? We can start doing these things, but sooner or later, it starts to take its toll. And by the time you realize it, the plan has already, come to fruition to some sort of extent, right? So we haven't built in the way that we want, but by the time we realize it, we've wasted all this time, we've wasted all these resources, we've wasted all this effort, and we have to go through and remodel that. And it takes a lot of time and effort to do that, right? Because you've already got the habits. And a lot of people are like, well, I already have this, and this is where I'm going. And they blame things like age, they blame things like hereditary, they blame things like, I don't know what else to do. So they just keep moving in that direction, and they put more and more bricks into that prison, and it keeps them locked up, unable to realize their full potential in these things. So when we go back and we realize that we can remodel any building, right? It doesn't matter what kind of building we have. If we start with a prison, we can remodel that if we have the things that we need, and we can turn that into a palace. We can make it whatever we want. But we have to go through, and we have to be willing to make changes. We have to be willing to break down some of those walls. We have to be willing to lay bricks in new areas. And when we start to do that, it doesn't take a terrible long time to start noticing some change. Just like when you go, if you go to any construction site, go there 1 week and you'll see a hole in the ground. They're building the basement. And then you go out the next week and they're building the frame. And then the next week it's all enclosed in. They've got all the siding, plywood and everything like that on. They've got the rooftop settled on, all of that good stuff. So it's closed in. And then you go out there and they have the siding on and the windows in, and they've got the drywall up. They've got all of these different things because they're building in one direction. They all have that same goal. They're putting the resources into the plan that they want. They've got that blueprint that guides them. And a lot of people think that our genes are our blueprint, but that's not the case in most things. Our environment plays just as big a role or bigger role than what our genes do. So just because your dad had arthritis or your mom had autoimmunity, or they had heart disease or cancer or whatever it may be, there's a lot of narrative around there that I'm stuck with it because that's what the last 2 generations of my family had. That's not the case. You are not stuck with these in most cases. Up to 80% of all chronic diseases are lifestyle in nature. And most of us have some form of chronic disease, right? Most people have some sort of heart disease or diabetes or cancer or whatever it may be. It's the reason that we are going broke in healthcare is because we all have these. But what most people don't realize is we can change these with our lifestyle by getting a better quality diet, getting the nutrients that we need instead of the inflammatory diet that most of us are living on, right? When we look at the SAD, the standard American diet, and we've exported that to multiple other countries, right? So we have other countries that are fighting the same fight. The UK and Australia and New Zealand and Canada, all these places are starting to have the same problems. They're eating an inflammatory diet and it's wrecking their health as well. When we start to get better exercise, and that's not just going out and running or playing basketball or football or whatever you do for exercise, that's also doing mobility work. It's getting adjusted because the chiropractic adjustment, what we're doing is we're restoring mobility to a joint. When a joint gets locked up, you don't get movement and you don't get the nutrients in, you don't get the waste products out. That movement pumps that stuff in and out, and that allows that to function the way that it's supposed to, but it also minimizes the inflammation that you create. So when we have that, it starts moving you forward. When we get the quality sleep that we need, our body can restore and grow and repair and heal and do the things that we need to do to basically make up for the things that we're not doing right? So if we have a little bit of inflammation in our diet, which you're never going to have a perfect diet. If we have a little bit of inflammation from that exercise and movement that we're doing, you're always going to have some of that, right? You've got to have the healing and repairing to do that. So the sleep is a necessary part. And when we have all of those things, we build the energy that we need to face the stress that we have. Everybody has stress, and stress looks different for each and every person, right? For some people, it may be finances. For other people, it may be family. For other people, traffic is their biggest concern. It doesn't matter what stresses you out, but it's going to be different than somebody else. And with that, we just have to have the resources we need to face it, right? If we've got enough gas, we can drive onto a trip. If we have, a gallon of gas, we can't go anywhere we want. Same type of scenario there. So we've got to have the fuel in the tank to face the stresses of the day. And if we do that, we do it in a much better way. So what I want you to look at is, what are you building? Are you building the health palace? Are you building the health prison? And what is the first thing that we're going to change? When we go through and we make a remodel, we don't just say, we're going to remodel everything and just blast out resources, right? We say, all right, we're going to start in the kitchen and we're going to remodel this. So we rip out all of that stuff. We do the demo and we go through and we put up the drywall. We tape it, we mud it, we paint it, we put up the appliances and the cabinets. We do all of the things that we need to do in order. And then we say, all right, we're done with this room. This room looks the way that we want it to do. Let's move on to the living room. And we do the same thing there. We go through that same process. And then we move to the bedroom and we move to the bathrooms and we move to the whatever the rooms you have, right? Until the house is a new house. It's a totally different thing. It's unrecognizable to what it was before. Your health can be the same way. But we've got to start laying the bricks in the right order. So if you have questions on this, reach out to me. This is the stuff that I love to talk about. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your attention. I know that those are your greatest resources, and I appreciate you spending some of that with me. I will catch you on next week's video.